Hello, everyone. Sorry for the delay in starting up the office hours today. I have a crazy week going on, so I apologize for that. Hopefully, anyone who didn't leave, who was waiting around for it to start, checking quickly to see if there's any emails that came in. Um, Nothing I see there. Checking the Twitter feed, nothing obviously there. Okay, so a couple of things to talk about today. First of all, the most important is the tactics and implementation, which is due tomorrow night. Second, I wanted to comment a little bit about the analytics, and then third, just talk about all the other stuff that's going on this week, right? The analytics exam. So, anyway, so with respect to the tactics and implementation, so this is due by 11:55 p.m. tomorrow, Thursday, March 29th. And I just want to quickly reiterate again, and we talked a lot about it last office hour, so I don't want to spend all time talking about it. But I want to mention what I'm looking for in it. Right? And so what I'm looking for is 3 to 5, and I don't care too much about the quantity, but I just don't want you to talk about every single possible thing. So I want you to be kind of choose a smaller number and concentrate on that rather than a few sentences about 20 different tactics. So 3 to 5 tactics that support the marketing goals, right? And that are well justified by the rest of the marketing plan, right? So if you're talking about how active your target market is on Instagram in the rest of the plan, then it seems it would make sense to then talk about Instagram in the actual tactics section, right? So try to make sure to choose tactics that support the marketing goals and also are justified by the rest of the marketing plan. Okay. Besides that section, and that's roughly about 2/3 of the tactics and implementation section, I would say. It's just discussing the tactics, and maybe 2/3, 3/4, something in that vicinity. Besides that, there's two other smaller sections, and one is the implementation section. The implementation section, I want you to actually take a look at um, the
actually
okay.
take a look.
Just flipped over to the actual YouTube screen. I want to take a look at the actual resources available to the firm and see how they could best implement the tactics that you're talking about, right? So don't suggest a series of tactics that is way too much for the firm's resources, right? Now, it's fine to also talk about within each tactic what they should do given the current resources and what they might do if they gain additional resources. That's fine, but I want you to have something that they could implement, in the relatively near future if they needed to. And then the final section is called control, right? And what's happening in the control section? Well, in the control section, what I want to see is a discussion of what happens if things go off the rails, right? What if you're not making your KPIs? What if you're just not meeting your marketing goals? If that's the case, then I want you to describe potential alternatives. Now, this is, to some extent, this is your hypothetical best guess, right? Because you don't really know. You're not in that situation. It hasn't actually occurred. But it's the idea that you've at least thought of it and you've at least prepared for it that I think really helps convince people that you really do have a good marketing plan that you're suggesting for them. So again, I want you to look at the tactics and implementation that are well supported by the rest of the marketing plan and support the marketing goals. I want you to have an implementation section that is constrained by the resources the firm actually has. And I want you to have a control section where you've at least speculated about what to do if you're not making your marketing objectives, right? Thought a little bit about what the future could entail. Okay? So that's it for the marketing implementation section. If you have any questions about that, obviously it's due tomorrow night, but shoot me an email and I will do my best to get back to you as quickly as possible. I know there was some delay in responding to some emails people had sent me over the last couple of days, but I think I've cleared out my inbox, at least for MBA 590 inboxes, any questions at this point, so you should have seen. That kind of brings me to another point, which is the analytics exam. You should all have gotten your grades back by now. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to email me. We did notice in the very original turn-ins that there was a little bit of a miscommunication between me and the grader with respect to the fifth question about determining which keywords to bid on in the future, right? I think we've cleared that miscommunication up, and Christopher's been great, and he's gone back through. And I believe he's regraded every exam already, and this is, I only told him this at like 1 a.m. in the morning last night, so it's pretty amazing that he got all that done. But hopefully that's all set. If you have any questions or concerns about the analytics exam, let me know, and we'll discuss those, okay? So feel free to shoot me an email about that. Now let's talk about what's going on the rest of the week, the rest of the story. So sorry, gotta reach in my pocket to authenticate myself on Moodle. Okay. And click. I was never quite sure why it takes me like 3 clicks to do this, but pulling it up, and I'll pull it up so you can see as well. Okay, and here we go. So here's your Moodle for the day, right? And so the first thing I want you to do, obviously, is this actually isn't on the list, but I'd like you to look over your analytics exam this week so that you can make sure that you don't have any questions about that or concerns with the grading. We'd like to get those dealt with as soon as possible. And then the next priority is probably completing the tactics and implementation, which is due tomorrow. Then there is a new Top Hat discussion that just got posted. So you have the one you're finishing up on net neutrality, but then there's a brand new one on hacking SEO in 2018. And I thought this was a really interesting reading. I read it actually. I was flying back from Denver, and I read it on a plane. And in the article, they talk about how important it is to diversify your sources of traffic for your website. I thought that was a very unique perspective, almost taking like an investor portfolio approach to approaching website traffic. So there's a cool discussion about that. So take a look at the reading and then respond to the questions in Top Hat. And there's also some videos for this week on week 11, which is primarily on the topic of display ads, right? And next week we'll be getting into email and mobile ads, and email and mobile content. So there's only 2 videos, so it's a short week in terms of video content. I do plan to add a new video either tonight or tomorrow or early next week on using Google AdWords, right? Like going through an example of actually setting up an AdWords account and getting everything up and running for that. I've had a couple of questions about that, so I want to kind of go through that process a little bit. So look for that video as soon as that video drops. I'll also release the email and mobile content for next week as well. So that's the primary things that are going on this week. So we have obviously the look at your analytics exam. Make sure the questions that you have been addressed. If not, shoot me an email about those. Look through. There's the self-referential. Look through the tactics and implementation, which is due on, or finish your tactics and implementation, which is due on March 29th, tomorrow at 11:55 p.m. Participate in the Top Hat discussion, view the new videos on display advertising, and if you want, read Chapter 12 of the textbook, which also talks about display. Okay. So that's it for me. Short little video this week, unless there's something else going on. Let me turn back on my window camera. If you have any additional questions, let me know. Right? I don't think I don't have anything else. There were no. Sometimes I use this time to address if there are any consistent questions about the analytical exam. I think that the only ones that existed were due to this miscommunication between the grader and I. So and that's all on me. I didn't I write my rubrics for myself, not for other people, and so I need to get better at writing them so other people can read them. But I don't think there was any other big issues that came up. But if there's something you want to talk about the analytics exam, please shoot me an email. I'm happy to discuss it. Thanks, everyone. I look forward to seeing your tactics and implementation, and we will talk again next week. Take care. Bye.